The most expensive mistake a man will ever make isn't a bad investment, a failed career move, or a depreciating asset sitting in his driveway. In the cold calculus of a man's life, the heaviest price tag belongs to choosing the wrong partner. Selecting a woman who drains instead of builds, who destabilizes instead of anchors, who turns his home into a battlefield instead of a sanctuary. Yet, tragically, some men don't even choose at all. They get chosen. She picks him, she dictates the tempo, she runs the playbook, and he calls it fate or destiny simply because she is beautiful and the path of least resistance felt good in the moment. That passivity is the root of more misery than most men ever admit, because they would rather blame circumstance than confront the fact that they surrendered their agency at the first flutter of chemistry. So today, we are going to fix that. This is not a motivational pep talk. It is a surgical breakdown of female psychology delivered from the other side of the table. She is a woman who has spent years decoding the hidden architecture of how women actually think, not the polite surface nonsense they say in public to avoid awkwardness, but the raw, unfiltered operating system that runs beneath the social niceties. And she is going to give you the 7 unmistakable signs that a woman is right for you. Fair warning. The 7th sign is the one nobody wants to hear, because it means some of you have already met the right woman and walked right past her, blind to the treasure in front of you because your nervous system was conditioned to mistake chaos for passion. Here is how this works. Chemistry tells you that you want her. It is a visceral pull, a magnetic hum that makes your blood move faster. However, chemistry tells you nothing about whether you can build with her. And gentlemen, those are 2 completely different questions answered by 2 completely different parts of your psyche. Wanting is instinctual, building is strategic. One is driven by the reptile in your brainstem, the other by the man who looks at the horizon and plans for decades. She is going to share a lot of signs, but the 7th sign will be the filter that sits above all the others, the master key that unlocks whether she is a fleeting storm or a permanent season. Grab something to write with, because this is the vetting lesson your father should have given you before you ever started dating, the kind of wisdom that gets passed down only in families that understand that a man's choice of wife is the single most consequential decision of his existence. Sign number 1 is what she calls the no test. The fastest character test you can ever run on a woman costs you 1 word: no. Not a rude one, not a power game designed to assert dominance, just a real, honest, reasonable no. Something like saying to her, "No, I can't do this Saturday, I have a commitment with the guys," or "No, I'm not skipping the gym again this week because my health isn't negotiable." A small boundary that comes up naturally in any real life. Now, watch what happens next, because you are about to see the entire future of your relationship in miniature. The right woman might be disappointed, and disappointment is honest. It means she wanted you there, but she respects the boundary without resentment. Somewhere deep down, she is actually a little impressed, because a man whose life has enough structure that she cannot naturally override it is a man whose yes actually means something. His commitment has weight because it is not cheaply given. The wrong woman, on the other hand, will punish the no. And women are sophisticated about this, so pay close attention. It will not look like a tantrum. It will be a sudden coldness, a guilt trip dressed as a harmless joke. Wow, it must be nice to have such a busy schedule. Or her personal favorite, the delayed invoice. She acts fine in the moment, and 3 days later, you are paying for that no in an argument about something completely unrelated because she has been storing that resentment like a squirrel hoarding nuts for winter. How she handles a small no is a trailer for how she will handle a big one. A life together, marriage, building a family, navigating crises. All of it is thousands of negotiated no's. Choose a woman who can hear one without collapsing into passive aggression, because the woman who cannot hear no is a woman who cannot respect your autonomy, and without respect, there is no foundation. Sign number 2 is who she is when you have nothing to give, what she calls the low moments test. Any woman can adore you on your best day. Yes, you got the promotion, you booked the trip, you are funny, confident, the jacket fits, and you are basically a walking dopamine dispenser. That version of you is easy to love. The question that actually decides your future is, who is she on your worst day? The week you lost your job, the month your father was in the hospital, the night you had nothing. No charm, no plans, no energy, Just you, tired and raw on the couch, stripped of all the external markers of success. She watched this happen to a friend of hers, let us call him D. 2 women in 2 years. The first one was spectacular right up until his company began to fold. And then came the sighing, the comparisons to her friends' boyfriends who were doing better. She did not leave immediately, and that is the detail most men miss. She just started shopping for a better option while still holding his hand, and he could feel the shift in her energy, but he could not name it, so he blamed himself. The second woman was a different species entirely. When his contract fell through, she showed up with groceries and a plan and told him, "This is just a bad chapter, not a bad book." He married her. Of course he married her, because that is the difference between a woman who loves the performance of you and a woman who loves the person beneath it. Some women are in love with the lifestyle, the status, the show, the Instagram highlight reel. And some women are in love with the flawed, striving human being behind the curtain. You cannot tell the difference when you are winning. You can only tell when you are down. Which means, and she knows this sounds backwards, a rough patch early in dating is not just pain, it is valuable information. It is a stress test that reveals the structural integrity of the connection. Do not waste it by whitewashing the memory. Pay attention to who stayed and who vanished when the spotlight dimmed. Sign number 3 is the consistency test, because how you treat people who cannot do anything for you is actually who you are. Watch her with the waiter, with the Uber driver, with her mother on the phone, with a friend she outgrew but still meets for coffee. Is she the same warm, decent person in every one of those rooms, or does the charm switch on and off for the audience depending on status and utility? And here is the advanced version most men never think to check. Listen to how she talks about her exes. She is going to give you a rule that will save some of you years of your life, so write it down. If every single ex is crazy, toxic, or a narcissist, you are not hearing her dating history, you are hearing your own future testimony. A woman can have a bad ex. Absolutely. Some men are genuinely terrible, but a pattern where she is the innocent victim in every story she has ever been in. The common denominator is standing right in front of you ordering the salmon. The right woman can tell you what she got wrong in her past relationships. She has a version of the story where she is not the hero, and that is not weakness, that is self-awareness. And that is the self-awareness you will be negotiating with for the next 40 years if you marry her. That is gold, so recognize it when you see it. A woman who takes no accountability for her past is a woman who will write you into the villain role in her next story because she is incapable of introspection. Sign number 4 is she has her own engine. This one stings a little because it is the opposite of what your ego wants. Your ego wants to be her everything, her whole world, her every text, her reason for breathing. And when a woman makes you her entire universe in week 3, it feels incredible, like being elected president of someone's heart without campaigning. But it is a trap, and not because devotion is bad. Speed like that is not devotion, it is vacancy. A woman with no friendship she maintains, no work she cares about, no Tuesday night thing that is just hers, is not offering you love. She is offering you a job, and the job is being her entire emotional infrastructure 24 hours a day with no weekends off and no retirement plan. Men take that job flattered and leave it exhausted 3 years later, wondering why they feel so drained. And then she tells the next guy that you were emotionally unavailable, but you were not. You were just understaffed and doing the work of 5 people. A woman who is right for you has her own engine, her own purpose, her people, her momentum. When you show up, she does not hand you her life to run. She adds to a life that is already in motion, and that does something your nervous system will notice immediately. You never have to wonder whether she is with you out of need or out of choice. A woman who needs you cannot actually choose you. She is tethered by scarcity. Only a woman who does not need you can do that, can look at you with open eyes and say, "I want you here," not because my world collapses without you, but because you make a good world even better. Sit with that one, because it reframes everything you think you know about attachment. Sign number 5 is the conflict test, and now we are in the deep end, because this is the sign that predicts whether you will last, and almost nobody vets for it. Every couple fights. If you grew up in a house where fighting meant the end of the world, let her clear that up right now. Every healthy couple on earth fights. The research on this is decades deep, and what predicts divorce is not the presence of conflict, but the style of it. Contempt, stonewalling, eye-rolling, and scorekeeping. Those are the four horsemen, and they kill more relationships than infidelity does. So when your first real disagreement arrives, and it will, usually around a month or two in when the costumes start to come off, do not dread it. Study it. You are being handed the most valuable data of the entire relationship. The wrong woman fights to win. She brings up the thing from 6 weeks ago, the one you thought was resolved, because she has been keeping a mental ledger. She goes for the soft spot she learned about in a tender moment, and that is a special kind of betrayal, using intimacy as ammunition. She needs you not just wrong, but defeated, humiliated, reduced. Or she goes silent for 3 days and makes you solve a puzzle to earn back basic warmth, treating affection like a reward in a Skinner box. The right woman fights towards you, even angry, and she will get angry because she is human. She will try to solve the problem, not dismantle you. Watch for this specific move because it is the tell. Mid-argument, she will crack a small joke or touch your arm or say something like, "Okay, wait, I am being unfair." That is called a repair attempt, and a woman who makes them is showing you that even in conflict, the relationship outranks her ego. She values connection over victory. You can build a life on that, a fortress on that. You cannot build a weekend on the other thing. Sign number 6 is the mirror test, and it flips the camera around because it is not about her behavior at all, it is about yours. Answer this honestly. When you are with her, are you more yourself or less? Are you funnier, calmer, more ambitious, more honest? Or are you editing your texts like legal documents, laughing at things that are not funny, hiding the nerdy hobby, softening your opinions, managing her moods like a weather system you cannot predict? Because you can be genuinely attracted to a woman who makes you a worse version of yourself. Attraction and fit are different systems. The wrong woman can be gorgeous and brilliant and magnetic, and you will shrink around her a centimeter a month until your own friends do not recognize you. Speaking of friends, they already know. That is the shortcut here. Your boys, the family, the people you have known for 15 years, they can see whether you have gotten smaller or bigger since she arrived, and they will probably see it months before you do because they are not drunk on the chemistry. Most men never ask because they are afraid of the answer, but ask anyway. Ask one honest friend, "Am I different around her, better or worse?" One honest friend will tell you in 10 seconds what might otherwise take you 3 years and a painful settlement to figure out. The right woman is not the one you perform best for. She is the one you do not have to perform for at all. And around her, the unperformed version of you is somehow the strongest version, the most grounded, the most settled. When you feel that, pay attention because it is rare and it is load-bearing. It is the kind of peace that holds up under pressure. Sign number 7 is the one she warned you about at the beginning, and it is the most counterintuitive of all. Peace is not boring. Some of you may have already met the right woman and walked past her, and here is what she means by that. She needs you to really hear this because your own brain is going to argue with her. The wrong woman often feels like more intense, more addictive, more alive. The hot and cold, the 2 a.m. arguments and the explosive makeups that follow, the checking your phone every 4 minutes. A lot of guys mistake that feeling for passion, for once-in-a-lifetime chemistry. It is not. That is a slot machine, and here is the mechanism in your brain. The same one casinos are built on. It is called intermittent reinforcement. Unpredictable reward binds harder than consistent reward. That is neurochemistry, not romance. Her inconsistency is not proof that she is special. It is proof that the machine is working on you. That obsession you feel, that gnawing ache, that is not your heart choosing. That is your dopamine system getting farmed by a variable reward schedule. Here is the tragedy that plays out in her comments and her inbox every single week. A man meets a woman who is consistent, warm on Tuesday, warm on Friday, says what she means, does what she says, no puzzles to solve, no fires to put out, and because his nervous system was trained on chaos, he feels nothing. He calls it no spark. He tells his boys, she is a great girl, but something is missing. He leaves her to go back to the slot machine, chasing that high that was never love in the first place. Nothing was missing. What he felt was actually peace, and he had never felt it before, so he had no name for it. If you spent years in chaotic relationships, calm will not feel like love at first. It will feel unfamiliar, even unsettling. Sometimes it will even feel boring for a few weeks while your nervous system recalibrates, while your cortisol levels drop and your brain learns to live without the adrenaline spikes. That is withdrawal, not incompatibility. The right woman brings you peace, and you are still drawn to her. Not peace instead of attraction, but peace underneath it. Attraction plus calm is the rarest combination in modern dating, and the men who learn to recognize it are the ones who end up in marriages that everyone else envies, the ones that last 50 years and still have laughter at the dinner table. The anxious feeling was never love. Fear and love just happen to share a heart rate, and your biology is a terrible guide when it is hijacked by uncertainty. Now, she wants you to think about all 7 signs one more time, and also notice what is not on that list. Her looks, her followers, how much she texts you back. Those are surface metrics that tell you nothing about her character. Chemistry gets a vote, absolutely. It matters, but it does not get a veto over the 7 things that actually decide your life. A beautiful woman who fails the no test, who crumbles in low moments, who treats service staff with contempt, who has no life of her own, who fights dirty, who makes you smaller, and who mistakes chaos for passion. That woman is a beautiful disaster, and you cannot build a future on a disaster. You can only survive one. Spotting the right woman is only half the equation, because the right woman is also running the exact evaluation she just gave you, on you. She has standards, and she is watching to see if you measure up. She is watching how you treat waiters, how you handle your own low moments, whether you have your own engine, whether you fight fair, and whether you are more yourself around her or less. So the real question today is not just, how do I find her? It is, when she finds me, what will she find? Will she find a man who is whole, grounded, and capable of offering the same stability he demands? Or will she find a man who is still chasing slot machines, still addicted to chaos, still unable to recognize peace because it does not trigger his alarm system? The truth is, women are not mysteries to be solved. They are people to be understood, and the ones worth keeping are the ones who pass these tests just as you are passing theirs. She does not teach tricks or manipulative games. She tells the unvarnished truth from the other side of the table, the kind of truth that stings but sets you free. If this message landed, share it with a brother who needs to hear it, and commit to being the kind of man who does not walk past the right woman because his nervous system is broken. The right woman is not the loudest one in the room. She is the one who makes the noise in your head finally go quiet. And when you find that, hold on to it, because that is the foundation of everything worth building.